Well, good day, and welcome once again to Moments with Dr. Steve. I'm Dr. Steve Bonenberger, and in this slug, this chunk, we talk about critical mass, my personal model for ultimate personal success. To understand the work we have to plow into process and reveal and openly discuss model, we have a very specific model that we have created on this side of the conversation. And it starts with writing and creativity. It's the bedrock. It's the ocean depth. It's the internal rebar. It's the precept. It's the ideas that morph little tiny particles into molecules that develop into zygotes that spring into tiny cherubs that mature into adolescents that ultimately must migrate into full-blown and full-blooded working adults. Big ideas and big ideals. We believe that as you write, as you intensely write, as you scratch and, work really hard to unearth that which is inside of you, that these ideas have to be wrestled with. We believe that the big ideas exist and that they're inside of you and you have to wrestle with them. Nothing of substance occurs ex nihilo, out of nothingness. That's why the whole manifestation thing is so silly. The idea must be grasped and clung to and fought with and misunderstood and refined and tested and failed. And then modicums of success have to start to poke their heads up and probe and tease you out. And it has to be prickly. Ideas are prickly. So you start with writing and creativity, and then you understand that there's a big idea, and then max effort. In both the way out and the genius path, I address the process and the focused green light energy approach that max effort requires from the human practitioner. Value exists and value exudes only as max effort continuously and then intelligently is applied and reapplied. So writing and scratching and digging and clawing, and then belief that big ideas are there, and then max effort to find them and work with them and to bring them to being. And then the work is in-depth plowing, and it's hard and it's directed. It's early mornings into the darkest of long nights. It's skills that don't yet exist that you have to refine and hone and discover even. And then you build scaffolds, and the scaffolds mature into full-blown and working concepts. The work has to be done, and then the product or the first blush appears. The max effort simply has to grow into a thing, and the thing has to be tangible and holdable and touchable and contain sightlines and textures and composites and depth, and it has to be able to withstand and walk through somewhat unscathed the suggested improvements and modifications of caring people, but always ignore the critics and their demonic and blasé and negative approach and their inability to comprehend what you see. Don't pay attention to them. It's none of their business what God has deposited inside of you, but pay attention to the caring ones. They're the ones that will hoist and leverage your idea to where it needs to be. So as you write and as you harvest the big idea, as you put max effort, as you exude the work, you have to exude the work. As the product appears and you have this first blush, then you have to test and sample. Your thing has to be tested and tried, and it has to fail under a variety of first attempts. I'm going to say that again because it's so true. It has to fail under a variety of first attempts. It must fail. It has to be cringeworthy at first. It has to be dinged up and marred and scarred. It has to weather storms. It has to earn its stripes. It has to add its own value. And in so doing, you create this improved version, and then you create this honed precision of what you see. And what you see as you mature it is far from where you began the idea. And then you have to have standing and spatial presence. Now is when you, as a steward, now we address this in a separate chunk. I'm going to come back to this many, many times. But you have to come to the understanding, and you must determine and establish that you have to market your thing. and that you have to put it out into the universe. And it has to have commercial and intellectual value. I'm going to say that again. The thing must have commercial and or intellectual value. It must be an intellectual property unto itself in order for it to survive. And this has to be defined and refined and fixed and improved. Steward and protector. I'm going to do a whole chunk on this in days to come. But your role now shifts. Listen to me carefully. You move from creative agent and creative agency, and you jettison this fallacy that you're the owner and the founder and the originator. You need to underline that statement. You have to come to the place where you jettison and obliterate the fallacy that you are the owner and the founder and the originator. You are the steward and the protector. And you become the brand ambassador. That's what I am now for the material. That's what you need to become for your thing. Brand ambassador. You swiftly realize that this thing chose you. You did not choose it. You are hard to put it into words. But as you mature, as you gain understanding, as you grow with your zeal, and as you grow with your comprehension, as this thing absorbs more and more of your life, you become aware that it chose you. And your family legacy becomes wedded to and then welded to this thing that somehow and for some reason pre-selected you to be its personal Pegasus. That is true. Communitas and user groups and affinity. Your job is to wisely and then proficiently guide the conversations and protect and properly manage the brand that your thing blossoms and blooms into. I want you to study this chunk of material many, many times and begin to chart your progress. We are building a global cultural conversation. Head over to saintalegius.org, drop us a note, and inform us of your one thing. If you have yet to find that thing, you need to dive deep into the genius path, and you'll find it on our site. Till next time, I'm Dr. Steve Bonenberger, and this is Moments with Dr. Steve. Travel far.